When it comes to handcrafted uber luxury vehicles, the Volkswagen Group has always had Bentley to carry their best foot forward against other stalwart players like the Rolls-Royce and Mercedes-Maybach. Now here in America, the two-door Continental GT is most likely the most well-known Bentley among celebrities and wealthy individuals alike. However, 3 years ago, Bentley gave the four-door version of the Continental GT, the Flying Spur, a full redesign, moving it to its third generation and building it on the very sporty Porsche Panamera architecture. Now, as you can see, this week we are lucky enough to be driving our very first Bentley press car. This right here is the 2023 Flying Spur Speed, and just like the name implies, this is the performance version of the Flying Spur because it has the most powerful 12-cylinder engine under the hood, making 626 horsepower. So if you guys are one of the lucky few wealthy individuals who can afford a vehicle like this and you want something with a little extra performance with your luxury, how does the brand new 2023 Flying Spur Speed stack up? Stay tuned to find out. Now, in all my years of doing these reviews, I actually haven't had a chance to show you guys a full review on a Bentley, at least until now. But before we start talking about the exterior styling of the Flying Spur, the third generation, let's go ahead and pop the hood and show you guys what's powering this thing, because when you see a Bentley with the Speed badge, you know you have something special. Now, what makes this engine special is the fact that it is a 12-cylinder, not just a V12, this is a W12. And that basically means that the Volkswagen Group basically fused together two VR6 engines. They're narrow-angle V6, and the result is an engine that has a unique character, a unique sound, and also a more compact size versus a traditional V12. And Bentley has also announced that they are discontinuing the W12 engine starting in April of next year. So if you want something with 12 cylinders with a Bentley badge, this is going to be the last call, basically, and Bentley is sending it away with a pretty nice send-off. Now, this motor has been in production for about 20 years, the 12-cylinder engine, and in this latest version, it's a 6-liter twin-turbocharged direct and port-injected W12 with their TSI fuel injection technology, and it makes 626 horsepower and 664 pound-feet of torque. Those are the most numbers that you're going to find in the segment. It has more horsepower versus the Rolls-Royce Ghost Black Badge and the Mercedes-Maybach S680 with its V12s, which are also twin turbocharged. It all goes out through an 8-speed ZF-built twin-clutch automatic transmission, which I suspect has some linearity with the PDK that you'll find in the Porsche Panamera or other Porsche vehicles. All-wheel drive is going to be standard. Bentley calls it a rear-biased active all-wheel drive system. There is no rear drive version of the Flying Spur, but as you can see, the engine is mounted longitudinally. So before you start calling it a fancy Audi or a fancy Volkswagen, this is a Porsche Panamera architecture. Now, fuel economy, in case you care, is rated at 12 city, 19 highway. It has roughly a 24-gallon gas tank. Premium, of course, is going to be required. It was showing about 400-ish miles on a full tank in my week's worth of testing. Bentley claims the speed will do 0 to 60 in around 3.7 seconds, and living up to its speed badge, it has a top speed of 207 miles an hour, and it weighs in at just over 5,600 pounds. If this is too much performance, Bentley also offers a 4-liter twin-turbo Porsche-built V8 that delivers 542 horsepower and a plug-in hybrid that has a twin-turbo 2.9-liter V6, making 536 horsepower with up to 21 miles of EV-only range. This review, however, is going to focus on the Speed, which has that 12-cylinder engine. But let's go ahead and close up the hood and talk about the exterior styling. Now, my particular tester here is painted in bronze. It's actually a little bit too much brown for me, but the color is growing on me. The vehicle itself just has quite the presence to it. This was an all-new vehicle back in 2020, and it has the latest design language from Bentley. The front basically resembles the Continental GT, which is not a bad place to start. And like I said earlier, this is built on a Porsche architecture, but you wouldn't be able to tell by looking at it because it is just purely Bentley. You can see the grille is bold and it's in charge. You can see it has the black package, so it blacks out a lot of the chrome with these vertical slats. For 2024, Bentley did update the grille to include more of a mesh insert. You can see the Flying B logo also will pop in and out depending on whether you have it concealed or revealed. If somebody also tries to steal this, it'll also will hide itself to keep it from being stolen. You can get it in this black finish or a silver finish. This also lights up on the wings, which makes it look really cool at night. The headlights, you can see, this is probably my favorite part about the Continental or the Flying Spur, are these jeweled full LED matrix designed headlights. You can see it literally looks like there are crystal jewels in the headlight modules themselves. You can have LED daytime running lights, LED turn signals, no fog lights on the vehicle. This is for the adaptive cruise control radar sensor, not the fog lights. You have these well integrated parking sensors. The front camera you can see is right here in the grille, although it's kind of off center a little bit. It's not right in the center, as you can see, lining up with the Flying B badge. That's a little small detail that kind of annoys me, but you can't deny just how menacing and badass this vehicle looks. I think it looks even better versus the Rolls-Royce Ghost, which is the main rival to this vehicle, and I think it also looks better than the Mercedes Maybach, because that vehicle just looks kind of more like a regular S-Class. Now, moving around the side profile of the vehicle, Bentley only offers the Flying Spur in one size, and this is a big vehicle at 209 inches long. Its wheelbase is around 125 inches long. It's around 78 inches wide, but it's surprisingly 3 inches shorter than the Rolls-Royce Ghost and about 6 inches shorter than the Maybach. And keep in mind, the Ghost offers a longer wheelbase version, which is around 16 inches longer. So this is the smallest version of a vehicle in this segment, but it's also wider than the Rolls and the Mercedes by about 2 to 3 inches. Now, looking at the wheels, my tester has an optional 22-inch satin finish wheel, which are probably my favorite looking wheels ever that I've ever seen on any vehicle. This is like a $4,000 upcharge. You have a fat 275 by 35 R22 tire. The rears are even fatter 315s. So again, it really shows how much sportier this vehicle is compared to a Mercedes, Maybach, or a Rolls-Royce Ghost. The brakes are huge. These are the biggest brakes that you'll find on a production car, not an SUV. They're 16.5-inch front rotors with a 10-piston caliper. You can see that caliper is massive. It gives you excellent stopping power. This vehicle also has an adaptive variable suspension with air suspension, 4-corner air suspension, and 4-wheel steering. That's going to give it a smaller, tighter turning radius when you guys are parking or trying to park this vehicle in tight areas. You can see there's a nice little speed badge here to show everybody you've got the faster version. This vent right here is a fake vent. I wish this was actually a functional vent. And then you can see with the black package, it also blacks out a lot of the chrome. It's got an integrated turn signal mirror with power folding mirrors. My tester is also missing a panoramic sunroof for an extra $3,500, which is kind of insulting considering the price tag of this vehicle. That Flying B at the front is also an extra $5,000. So again, that's all of with a Bentley, just like a Rolls-Royce or a Maybach, there's a lot of extra charges. And then looking at the rear of the vehicle, this is probably where the Bentley looks a little bit more plain in the rear. The Flying Spur, I think actually looks better versus the Continental GT, although the rear taillights you can see are a little bit more conservative, but I don't think that's a bad thing. You can really see how wide this vehicle is from the rear. At 78 inches wide, you can see the taillights almost have a B built into the actual illumination, which is beautiful. It also has kind of like that diamond texture that you'll find from the interior. They're LED, full LED taillights with a Bentley logo here, and then it spells out Bentley in the back, although I'm surprised it's a little bit small. I thought it'd be a little bit larger. And then you can see the Speed also has these dual oval exhaust tips, which are black finished. The engine itself has a really unique sound. Let me go ahead and fire it up so you can hear how it sounds. And you're not going to expect to find a sound like that coming out of a Rolls-Royce or a Mercedes Maybach. So love the sound of this vehicle. We'll talk about that more when we get into the driving seat. Now, opening up the trunk, you can access it by pushing the B logo there. And then when you open up the trunk, it actually has a pretty decent size capacity at around 14.8 cubic feet of storage. You can see the seats don't fold down, but there is a center pass-through There's also a speaker back there for the 19 speaker NOM audio system. You can see it's really well finished. You have these metal kick plates, you have plush carpeting, which is nice. And then underneath here, surprisingly, not much in terms of storage, but you will find the 12-volt battery here along with some wiring. There's also a fix-a-flat kit if you guys get a spare or a flat tire and whatnot. But overall, the trunk is a little bit smaller versus the Rolls-Royce Ghost, but it does have a bigger trunk versus the Mercedes Maybach. So now let's move on to the interior of this uber luxury Bentley Flying Spur. However, before we get inside, I want to show you guys the key fob. You can see, before you say again, this is just a fancy Audi or a fancy Volkswagen, it does have its own unique Bentley fob. This fob feels heavy, it feels solid. I love the big Bentley badge with all the extra chrome, with the diamonds kind of on the actual fob. You'll find more of that texture in the interior. You have your usual lock, unlock, remote trunk, panic button, and then I believe if you have access to the Bentley app, you should be able to access this vehicle through your smartphone as well. Now, as you approach the vehicle, you can see traditional door handles, which just kind of pull up. It doesn't have like a digital latch system, but it does have a soft close feature. When I lock the vehicle, you can see when you lock it, the Flying B badge will retract and then hide itself away. You can also set it to always automatically stay on or off. Whenever you unlock the vehicle's badge will pop back up. Again, a nice luxury touch. This is the first Bentley sedan to get that Flying B badge. Again, they're going after Rolls-Royce by that nice little detail. Now, as I open up the door, you can see my tester is a lot of brown. It's a little bit too much brown, but you can see it has the two-tone camel and burnt oak interior. So it's a brown on brown. This is an extra cost, of course, for this interior. I think it was like $6,000 extra. It has the suede Alcantara. It has more of the diamond quilting. These are heated and ventilated seats in the front and in the rear, and you also have a massage feature front and rear. The seats adjust in 24 different ways in the front, 14 ways in the back. You have two-person memory for every single seat in this vehicle. This vehicle here seats 4, but you can also get it to seat 5. The door panel, you can see, typical Bentley. You have real leather stitching, beautiful walnut trim, which is like an extra $2,200. Real stitching again along the entire door panel. I love the diamond quilting here in the actual door panel with this lovely chrome metal trim. The metal controls for the window switches, which feel really high quality, have that satisfying click feel, and it's one touch up down for all 4. You have power folding mirrors, nice leather padded area over here. The 19 speaker NOM audio system sounds incredible. It has 2,200 watts of power. It's the best sounding audio system I've ever heard, and I've heard a lot of really good systems. The seats themselves also are plush. This headrest, you can see, has the ability to kind of crinkle that pillow if you'd like. And it's just a really nice place to spend time, as you expect with a vehicle like this. As I get in, you can see it has a low step-in height, which, as you guys know, with a car, with a sedan, you're gonna get that. Sadly, unlike a Rolls-Royce where you can basically put your foot on the brake or push a button to close the door, the Bentley makes you close the door on your own, which is just so tedious. But if you just kind of shut the door and click it, it'll soft close for you. If you want, you can slam it, and it has a nice solid sounding thunk. Now you can see there's an all digital 12-inch display over here where it is customizable. And then my tester for an extra $6,600 has the rotating display. Now I want you to notice something. The display right now is just showing the solid wood. There's 3 different faces to the display. As I start the vehicle up, with the start stop button is right here in the center. You can hear the engine sounds great. The display rotates to reveal the 12.3-inch Bentley Connect head unit here, which is kind of a variation of an older system in Audis and in Porsches. And then as it loads up, if I push the screen button here, you can see the display will rotate to show 3 dials here. You have a compass, you have an outside temperature, and it looks like you have a stopwatch here. So there's 3 different faces to the display. This is $6,600. It's a really cool touch. I highly recommend it, as it kind of adds the little wow factor to your Bentley. You can see my phone is connected via Apple CarPlay. It is a wired connection Apple CarPlay. No Android Auto in this vehicle, from at least what I read. No wireless CarPlay. No over-the-air updates, so this is an older system. I also can't seem to figure out how to make this full screen CarPlay. So let me know in the comments below if you guys know how to do that. I couldn't find that in any of the settings, so it's a little bit of a small screen when you have it in that. But let's come back to that display. You can see there is a heads-up display, which is nice. The steering wheel is basically pulled off of an Audi RS vehicle. You can see it has its own unique design, of course, but it's a similar shape without the flat bottom design. I love the two-tone look. I love the suede Alcantara. This is a custom steering wheel by Mullinger. Mullinger is Bentley's basically bespoke division, which is going to customize your Bentley to your liking. The steering wheel itself is a power tilt and telescoping. There's a button at the bottom of the steering wheel, very Porsche-like, where you push it, you pull it in and out to adjust the tilt and the telescoping function. There's paddles on the wheel, which are metal, which also look great. I love the bespoke feel to the turn signal and the windshield wipers with more of that diamond stitching or the diamond pattern. You can see there's your adaptive cruise control switch. The horn sounds good. The vehicle itself has so much sound insulation that you barely hear the horn or any outside noises. You can see the dashboard has really nice stitched leather along the entire dash, more of that beautiful wood. I love the dash vents, which again, look metal and feel metal. However, they actually are kind of just metal plated. It's actually just plastic with a metal coating, so it's not quite as fancy as what you get in the Rolls-Royce. These little tabs, if you push it in, it's electronic. It'll close the vent. It takes a second for it to close. If you pull it back out, that opens up the vent. So again, very Rolls-Royce-like. I also love the way this clock looks. It's just very classy and elegant with more of the bright chrome work. When I put the vehicle into reverse, you can see there's your full 360 camera, which gives you a front, rear, side panoramic view, of course, which is what you expect in a vehicle in this price caliber. You can also clean the camera itself. There's a washer nozzle that sprays fluid onto the camera if it's dirty. So that's all pretty nice stuff. The shifter, you can see this controls the 8-speed dual clutch transmission. You push this B button, click it all the way forward to go to reverse, click it all the way back to go to park, push this P button to go into park. It's a little bit finicky at times, but once you get used to it, it works just fine. You can see there's a little bit of storage for your phone. There's also a wireless phone charging pad over here, but you probably are gonna have it connected anyways to connect to your smartphone. More of those little nice tabs to open and close the vents. You have satisfying clicky buttons for the heated and cooled seats, which is lovely. You have 4-zone climate control. You have your drive mode selector here. There's 4 different modes: a sport, a B mode for Bentley, comfort, and then a custom setting. Your auto start stop defeat is here. You have your electronic parking brake. There is a massaging seat function. If I push this little button over here on the actual seat, that'll bring up the massage. There's like 5 different types of massage with 5 different intensities. It's a really nice feeling massage. Every seat has the massage function, which you expect. More of that lovely wood grain trim. You have cup holder lid over here with a little bit of storage. You probably noticed my wallet and my sunglasses are here because this doesn't open up. It does slide forward and back. It's a really nice padded area, but it doesn't actually open, which is really frustrating. I'm not entirely sure why it doesn't open. So let me know in the comment section below if you guys know why Bentley decided to go with a non-opening center console. There's a little bit of storage here and over here, but there's a lack of storage in this vehicle aside from the door panels and a very small amount of storage in the center console. That's something that I wish that Bentley would address. The seats, like I said, are beautiful looking. They're comfortable and supportive. You can see the headrests have this little pillow area that you can adjust. It can also electrically move up and down. There is a suede Alcantara on the headliner, which my Tester is missing a sunroof for $3,500. There's ambient lighting here, or I'm sorry, LED map lighting and ambient lighting throughout the cabin at night, which it does look nice. Not quite as nice as Mercedes, but it certainly has a classy elegance that isn't too overbearing like in some brands. You can see, open this up, you can see it's a bin style glove compartment, which also is damped and lined with felt. It's a pretty big size. You have your SD card reader there for the built-in GPS, which, by the way, the GPS you can see is essentially the same one that you'll find in some Audi Volkswagen products. It does allow you to go to a satellite view, and you can also change the view here in the instrument panel where I can show Bluetooth connectivity, phone connectivity, and then your GPS. You can see that's basically the fullest screen you can go. So it's a different software and look. You can tell this is kind of Audi's virtual cockpit, but it has a different software look to it, which I think Bentley did a great job at kind of hiding the fact that it is an Audi Volkswagen software. You can see there's your settings where you can also go into your flying B where you can conceal it or reveal it. If I push conceal, you can see it actually will start to lower it in the screen and lower it actually in real life. You can also just leave it in an automatic setting. So that's a really cool little graphic touch. This is better versus the Rolls-Royce, although the Rolls has wireless Apple CarPlay, so that's something where I think the Rolls did better. But overall, the interior with all of its, bespoke touches, the really high build quality, the decent tech, the feeling of space, although these pillars here are a little bit big. There is also a lack of a digital camera review mirror, which would be nice because if I pull this little button here, you can see that closes up the rear sunshade, and you can also close and open up the rear side sunshades from this button, including all of them. So again, lots of nice high quality buttons and feels here, or textures. And overall, it definitely doesn't feel like an Audi in this vehicle. It feels like a nice mixture of some Audi products and switchgears, but of course with its own bespoke Bentley parts, which is going to remind you why you spent the extra money when you decided to go with a Bentley. Now this is a Bentley luxury sedan, so you guys are probably wondering what the back seat is like. Now, in this class of vehicle, the Mercedes Maybach has the most luxurious and spacious back seat, followed by the Bentley, and then of course the Rolls-Royce. Unless you go for the extended wheelbase Rolls-Royce, which actually, by the numbers, has the same legroom. Bentley says you get around 43 inches of legroom back here, which is basically the same as the front. These seats adjust in 14 different ways. You can see there's all the adjustments over here, along with two-person memory. These are also heated and ventilated and massaging seats. These are going to be standard on the Speed version, which comes with the 12-cylinder. You can see all the door panels have the same materials with the real wood, the stitched leather. You've got these peasant blockers, which you can open and close via that switch over here, or also from the actual display in the center there. But let's go ahead and get inside this interior, because as you can see, Bentley also offers a nice amount of plush carpeting here in the vehicle. Now, if you want, you can get the lamb's wool, really soft carpet, which my tester doesn't have. You can see there's also leather stitching here on the lower B pillar, going all the way to the floor with some beautiful, badges here to remind you you're getting into a Speed, the high performance version of the Flying Spur. Now, as I get in and shut the door has that soft close function. Sadly, it doesn't have the automatic closing feature that you'll find in a Rolls-Royce. If you slam it, it also has a relatively solid sounding thunk, although I do hear a slight rattle in this rear door, which I don't love. I think it's because of the power operated shades, or the peasant blockers, some people like to call them, which again, when you have them closed, just look at the amount of space and just privacy that you get back here. I have plenty of room to stretch out. I can easily cross my legs. There's good foot space here. And then if I want, I can kind of adjust this seat to kind of pull out a little bit more. That's going to reduce my leg room, but when I do this, it allows me to kind of tilt the seat back a little bit more to kind of give myself an airplane style seat where it has a nice recline function, and I can also set the memory. I can adjust the lumbar. So it's just a really intricate and lovely place to spend time back here. You can see this little center console area allows you to basically fold this down. My tester does have the 5th seat, so if you want, you can also get a 4-seat version. There's also a headrest here that pops out for that center passenger, but with this really big drive tunnel hump, you're not really going to find much comfort in the center seat. Open this up, you can see you have cup holders and some center console storage. You have 2 USB charging ports, a 12-volt power outlet in here. No refrigerator. My tester is missing the fridge. You do have that center pass-through, which is nice, but my tester is missing the fridge. And then I think Bentley doesn't offer the fold-out tables. That's something you get in the Rolls and the Maybach. You also can't get the champagne flutes in this vehicle, where again, it shows you that Bentley favors more driving performance as opposed to all-out backseat luxury, which you still can get in this vehicle, just not quite up to the same level as the Rolls-Royce and the Maybach. Now you can see there is a small little display back here. I'm not entirely sure how big this is. It looks like it's a 7-inch display. It looks really cool. The other great thing is this is a little bit of a far reach. It's kind of small, but if you want, push this little button right here, and that will push the little display out. This kind of reminds you of like a smartphone, which is really cool. This allows you to basically take control of anything you want from the front into the rear. So if I want, I can open and close all the blinds back here, which is nice. I can basically adjust the massage function, which if I go to the seat controls here, you can see it allows you to adjust the heated and cooled seat, the massage function. You can also adjust the climate, the audio system. You can even open up and close the Flying Spur badge from back here. You can pull up the navigation. You can adjust the ambient lighting in this vehicle. So again, any control that you want from the front is reachable from the rear here, to remind you again that you are the owner of this vehicle. So you have to have a lot of control with this car. You have rear seat air vents, which is nice. You have the same pull and push style tabs to basically open and close the vents. You have more vents over here. You have 2 storage cubbies over here on both sides of the seats. There's also a little bit of a mount here where Bentley will sell you a 10.2-inch rear entertainment system. My tester is missing that feature. But overall, compared to the back seat of a Rolls or Maybach, the Flying Spur does leave a little bit to be desired. But other than that, you have the same beautiful Alcantara. You have these nice grab handles here, which are leather stitched. And it still offers plenty of space and luxury and comfort. It just doesn't have that table or the champagne flutes that you'll find in some of its competitors. So it's not every day that you get to drive around in a Bentley, let alone the newest Bentley with the 12-cylinder engine. And what really surprised me about this car is the fact that it's actually built on the Porsche Panamera architecture, which is a great place to start. I mean, everything in this segment is all about luxury, but there's very few that actually have luxury and performance and sportiness. So my expectations are pretty high for this flying Spur, especially with the dual clutch transmission with standard all-wheel drive. This car, Bentley claims, with 626 horsepower, should get to 60 in 3.7 seconds, which is fast. I mean, that's about a second faster than what Rolls-Royce claims for the Ghost Black Badge, this car's main competitor. But I've never 0 to 60 tested this vehicle, so we've got our testing equipment, we've got a full tank of gas. Let's go ahead and see what we can get here on our usual stretch of road. Now, it does have launch control. When you brake torque it and floor the accelerator, when I turn off the auto start stop, try that again. Oof. Oh, shit. 3.58 seconds. Now, I suspected it would be a conservative number from Bentley, but as you guys know, this vehicle is owned by the Volkswagen umbrella, so it's German, even though it's a British car. And the powertrain certainly feels that way, although the engine is Bentley. The transmission has that PDK-ness with its swiftness, and actually it's supposed to rev a little bit harder. I'm going to try it again later on and see what we can get, but 3.58, I mean, you're going to need an AMG Mercedes to keep up with this thing, which technically is a class below this car because those aren't hand assembled. The engines are, but not the rest of the car like the way this Bentley is. But let's go ahead and try it on this stretch right here. Let me see if I can get the launch control to work properly this time. God, tunnel vision, oh my God. 3.6 there, and this is with it more going slightly uphill. So up ahead, we'll try it one more time on another stretch of road, which is more straight, but that V12, or that W12 has an interesting snarl because it doesn't sound like the typical 12-cylinder that I've driven in a Maybach and a Rolls-Royce. It almost has like a 6-cylinder snarl, which is not a bad thing. It sounds really charismatic. It sounds very unique. It has a manual mode here in the transmission, and unlike its competitors, there's actually a bark from the exhaust. It actually makes like a snarl that I like. It actually makes a little farting, popping noise, so that kind of shows you its Porsche roots, and that's what I love about this car so much, is it actually does feel sporty, it feels youthful. It actually also feels really playful for a big luxury barge that weighs 5,600 pounds. This thing will hold its own in the corners. So it's basically for the luxury or the wealthy individual who also likes driving, but also likes to be chauffeured around. But the fact that this also feels like a driver's car, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting this car to feel soft and pillowy, which it can when you put the drive mode selector into the Bentley setting, which has its own unique settings for the suspension, for the steering, the calibration, for the throttle. But this car has really great quick steering that surprisingly has a lot of feedback to it, which shocks me how good it is. I wasn't expecting it again in a vehicle like this. And with the four-wheel steering, this car will turn on a dime, which is definitely important. Listen to that. It makes a really nice sound. I wasn't expecting it again. This thing puts a smile on my face, which I mean the Rolls-Royce will as well, but it just doesn't have that same kind of playfulness that you get with this Bentley. It really is a fascinating car, and I'm shocked at how sporty this thing actually does feel. I really wasn't expecting it to have this kind of feel to it. But let's try it again one more time on this stretch of road, which is straight. 3.54 there, so that's a very consistent run on another stretch of road which is straight. I am just shocked. I am genuinely impressed. I'm gonna miss this 12-cylinder when they discontinue it, because as you guys know, Bentley claims they're going to be going electrified completely by the year 2026 and then all electric by 2030. So the W12 is not coming with them to electrification. And it's just a unique engine. It really is a super cool, overall this car, I'm speechless because I really like it a lot. I wasn't expecting to like this vehicle a lot, but let's go ahead and switch the drive mode here to the Bentley setting. Now that is going to be a little bit softer versus the Sport that I was in. The dampers, they soften up. The suspension also softens up because it's an air suspension. This is also where it allows more engine torque to go to the front. In sport mode, it sends more engine torque to the rear. In this mode, it allows for a more 50-50 balance. So you're gonna get more of that balanced, secure feeling that you expect from a luxury car. And this thing just is quiet. It just kind of coddles you in luxury. It rides really smoothly, especially for, you know, a vehicle with 22-inch wheels. Now, does it have the magic carpet ride smoothness of the Rolls? I would say no. There's a little more noise in this car. It has a little more road noise. It has a little bit more of a firmer suspension tuning, which is fine. It's not harsh by any measures, but if you guys are used to driving a Rolls-Royce and you're gonna get into this, you're gonna notice how much firmer and more visceral this car feels, which I personally like. So it's gonna come down to your taste. It's what Bentley has tuned it to be. But the seats also coddle you in luxury. I'm sitting here getting a massage. They're heated and ventilated in every seat is heated and ventilated with the massage function. That's standard on the W12 version of this car. And then in terms of the driver assistance tech, I will say that Bentley's needs a little bit of work. It's a little slow to respond when I have the adaptive cruise on. When the vehicle in front of you gets out of the way, it doesn't accelerate fast enough. The lane keep assist also doesn't work to the same kind of precision that I get, for example, in the latest Mercedes products. So that's something to keep in mind. In terms of tech, just like the Rolls-Royce, this car feels a step behind. The fact that it doesn't have wireless Apple CarPlay also is very infuriating. And then I also noticed when I was driving this car with the GPS on, Waze, for example, or Google Maps or Apple Maps, there were times where it wasn't getting a good signal and it wasn't actually following the map while I was driving. That's something that I noticed in my week's worth of testing, which it was kind of coming and going. It wasn't always consistent, not entirely sure why. There is a lot of thick sound insulating glass in this vehicle that could be affecting the signal. But right now, of course, it seems to be working perfectly. All that thick glass does translate into a quiet cabin, which is what you want again. Although I did hear a little bit more road noise than I was expecting on longer trips. On my week's worth of testing, I did manage to take this vehicle on a long road trip, and I got an average of 15.5 mpg in mixed driving. On the highway, it actually did better than the EPA's rating at around 22 miles to the gallon. That's pretty good mpg for a vehicle that weighs, you know, almost 5,700 pounds, and it's huge. It's a 12-cylinder, but this engine is surprisingly thrifty if you guys manage to keep your foot out of the throttle, which again is difficult to do with how much power this thing has and the sound it makes. But just listen, it's so quiet in this mode, but then as soon as I put my foot down, oh, that is lovely. It literally wakes up as soon as you put your foot down. It makes all this wonderful snarly noises, but when you want it to be quiet, it's quiet. So that's kind of lovely about the exhaust system in this vehicle. The responsiveness is right there. It gives you that dual personality that you expect and demand when you're spending this kind of money. And it also just has that premium feel. This vehicle didn't have any squeaks and rattles, although there is a slight little jittery noise that I'm hearing from the seat belt on the passenger side over here over certain road undulations. I'm not entirely sure why it's doing that, but again, I wouldn't be too happy if that was my personal vehicle. But other than that, everything else just feels tightly made. It feels like it's on the same level as a Rolls, just not on the same level quite in terms of full-on luxuriness, but nothing else really blends this amount of luxuriness and sportiness together with this level of acceleration. So the speed version of the Flying Spur is definitely the one to get if you're an enthusiast, but also keep in mind, I haven't had a chance to drive the V8 or the plug-in hybrid, which I'm hoping at some point Bentley will send me. The plug-in hybrid could be the best of both worlds. It's not that much slower than this vehicle, and you also get the electric-only range of around 21 miles. So after spending a full week with the brand new 2023 Bentley Flying Spur Speed, I have to say, my expectations were high for this vehicle. When you compete with vehicles like a Rolls-Royce and a Mercedes-Maybach, you better expect a damn good vehicle, especially for the price that you're getting. And what Bentley has delivered here is a damn good car. In fact, in terms of sportiness and luxury, no other vehicle in its segment really combines both. That was where I was the most surprised about the Bentley Flying Spur. Because Bentley started out with a Porsche Panamera architecture, you can really feel the fact that this is a driver's car, but it also is a luxury car. So Bentley has seamlessly blended two worlds, which tend to have a little bit of a clash. So it's nice to see that in this uber luxury sedan space. The 12-cylinder engine is also very charismatic. I love the sound, I love the feel, I love the endless torque reserves, and I also love the snarl that it makes when you put your foot down. When you couple that with the dual clutch transmission, it just makes for a driver's car. This is a car that you can equally be satisfied to ride in the back seat, but also be satisfied to drive when the road gets curvy. And that's kind of the biggest thing about the Flying Spur, is it merges both together. Now, in terms of the styling, this thing is stately. I mean, there are times where I don't love the brown exterior. It kind of reminds me of a flying turd, just in the color, because the rest of the car is just magnificent. In terms of the styling, it also gets attention everywhere, because as you guys know, Bentley really is the only other brand that stands at the same pinnacle as Rolls-Royce. Some may argue that Rolls is a little bit higher, but Bentley is definitely a more rare brand that is going to appeal to those of you who are the wealthiest individuals around the world. In terms of gripes, the infotainment system, I think Bentley needs to hurry up and upgrade. They've got newer systems, of course, in the latest Porsches, the latest Audis. The software just needs an upgrade. I would really like to see wireless Apple CarPlay and the ability to make the CarPlay full screen. And in terms of the switchgear, there are a couple of switchgear pieces in here that remind me of an Audi. It has some Audi chimes, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Audi makes some of the best switchgear in the industry, and I also think Bentley has tastefully added a couple of bespoke pieces to remind you that you're driving a special vehicle. This certainly isn't as bad as the Bentayga, their SUV, which some say can feel a little bit more like an Audi Q7. When you guys kind of blindfold yourself. But this vehicle definitely has that uber luxury feel, and you're certainly going to pay for it when you talk about the price tag. Because if you guys are looking to get your hands on a Flying Spur, this vehicle starts at $206,000 plus destination. That sounds expensive until I tell you how much a Rolls-Royce Ghost starts at. That starts at around $350,000. So you're saving about 150 grand by going with the Bentley versus the Rolls. Now, some would argue that the Bentley does come standard with a 4-liter V8, making around 542 horsepower. That is still about the same power, about 20 less versus the base V12 in the Rolls-Royce Ghost. If you guys want to go to a speed, which is the way that you're going to get the 12-cylinder engine, this car starts at just under $260,000. Pick one of these up while you can, because as you guys know, the speed with the 12-cylinder is going to be discontinued after the 2024 model year. Bentley will begin going all electric by 2030. They're going to be going all electrified by the year 2026, which means at least a plug-in hybrid powertrain, and then going all electric by 2030. My tester, of course, with all the options it has, which is why I have this paper here to kind of remind me what options it has. The most expensive option is going to be the NOM 19 speaker 2300 watt stereo system, which is the best sounding audio that I've ever heard in the industry, at least that I've ever tested. That's almost $10,000, around $9,100. The Flying Spur, or the Flying Bee badge at the front, that's around $5,000. The wheels are around $4,300. The extended range solid and metallic paint, that's $6,500. There's contrasting stitching for $2,700. The black line specification to black out all the chrome trim, that's $8,800. That seems expensive for basically some black pieces, which is kind of ridiculous. The rotating display on the inside, which is just phenomenal, that's $6,620. The open pore walnut wood, that's $2,200. The standard brakes with the black calipers, those are $1,700. And then the wheels, these self-leveling wheel badge there, which is pretty cool how it kind of always stays upright. That's $615, really expensive. All in, this car here is around $327,585. I know, that's a lot of money. A Mercedes Maybach is technically cheaper. It's going to save you around $80,000 by going with the Mercedes. The Rolls, however, is easily over $500,000. So Bentley sits squarely between the two vehicles. The Mercedes is going to give you the bigger back seat. The Rolls is going to give you even more luxury, but this is the car here that kind of perfectly blends, at least for me, luxury, performance, and speed in a package that is, while it is expensive, definitely feels more premium than any other Audi or Porsche vehicle within the Volkswagen family. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2023 Bentley Flying Spur Speed. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.